guys, welcome back to part 2 of Klawde, Evil Alien Warlord Cat. Today we're going to be reading from chapter 5, which is where we left off from part 1. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't forget the next upload. So let's get started. Chapter 5, Saturday continued. Is that thing meowing? Mom asked. It sounds like a wolverine being burned alive. I think this fella must be part Siamese. I don't care what breed the cat is, I said. I want him. I promised my parents that I'd pay for his cat food out of my allowance, and that I'd do his litter box, that I'd even clean my room and make my bed every day. My dad shrugged and went back to watching baseball, knowing the decision wasn't up to him. Meanwhile, my mom eyed the cat suspiciously as he leaped up to the windowsill. He gazed down at us like a furry gargoyle. Are we sure it even is a cat? Mom said. It's awfully strange looking. Don't insult him, I said. Its brain is the size of a walnut, my mom said. It doesn't know if I'm insulting it or praising its beauty. Can I keep him, please? Mom sighed. All right, she said. I couldn't believe it. It was a miracle. I was going to get what I wanted. That never happened. Thank you, I said. You made the right decision, I swear. She nodded, and then she held out a brochure. On one condition, she said. I should have known there'd be a condition. You keep the cat, you go to nature camp, she said. It starts Monday. Nature and camp. 2 words that struck terror into my heart. You'll go wild for nature at Camp Eclipse. Discover the skills of survival on the slopes of an extinct volcano. Together with your forest pack, you will learn how to build a shelter out of branches and leaves, identify the tracks of wild animals, understand the language of birds, forage the wilderness for food, climb trees, test the limits of your mental and physical endurance, and, best of all, play the life-changing game of Survival Night. Is this all going to happen outside? I asked. I should certainly think so, Mom said. I really didn't want to go, but I also really wanted the cat. I gulped and nodded. Fine, I said. I'll do it. The cat blinked and swished its tail. He was so adorable and innocent. I'd do anything to keep him. Chapter 6. The smallest ogre now appeared to be begging the long-furred ogre for some kind of mercy. I sensed that the long-furred one was the warlord of the fortress, while the small one was some kind of underling. The largest, baldest ogre was clearly lowly as well. I observed the humans as they communicated in their barbaric tongue. They did have some fur, but it sprouted from their bodies in strange places, such as the tops of their heads and in lines above their eyes. Bizarre. Unsurprisingly, they were so disgusted by their own appearance that they had draped themselves in some kind of a fur substitute, held together with primitive buttons and zippers. I almost felt sorry for them. All of a sudden, the small ogre scooped me up in its arms and hurried down a passageway to its lair. Put me down, I commanded, but it did not obey. It held me so tightly I couldn't get away. I watched in horror as its huge mouth came right at my head. It was going to eat me! With all my strength, I tried to push the monster away, but I could not overpower it. The human put its lips to my fur and made a loud smacking sound, and then it let me go. What did this mean? Before I could even begin to ponder it, something even stranger happened. The ogre stretched out on a soft platform, covered itself with a large piece of cloth, and died. I pawed its chest cautiously, fearing this was some kind of trick. But there was no getting it back to life. In the next room, I found the other two humans had perished similarly. Had their enemies poisoned them? I could hardly believe my luck. Now I had large, well-equipped fortress all to myself. Once I located the humans' weapons and teleporter, I could make my way back to Litterbox and reclaim what was rightfully mine. Purr. First, however, I had to do something about the pitiful state of my fur. The foul falling liquid had made it damp and clumpy. But what do I do? Without a follicular excavator, I would have to lick myself like some sort of a barbarian tree cat. It took all night. I was finally finishing when the Earth's puny, pale sun rose into the sky, and the strangest, most disturbing thing yet occurred. The humans began to arise. They lumbered about with half-open eyes. Zombies! They were giant ogre zombies! I went to the front portal, but I couldn't open it. I was trapped. As I madly searched for an escape route, the humans one by one went into a small room where they all removed their primitive coverings and stepped into a tall glass cage. Then they turned a knob, which caused all that horrible clear liquid to come streaming down over their hideous bodies. Moments later, they came out wearing new coverings and smiling. What kind of world was this? Chapter 7, Sunday morning. I woke up happier than I'd been in weeks. I had my own cat. I'd been asking for one ever since I was 6, and it finally happened. After breakfast, my mom said we needed to start unpacking, but my dad insisted we go out for cat supplies. But almost everything we own is still in boxes, Mom said. Well, I unpacked my signed Derek Jeter baseball, Dad said, pointing to it where it sat on the mantel. That's all I need to feel at home. Mom sighed. Fine, she said. You two go to Pet Bin. They do free vaccinations on weekends. Make sure that thing gets a rabies shot. You bet, Dad said brightly. Getting my new cat into the carrier that my dad had borrowed was no picnic. It took both of us, and my dad got so scratched up that it looked like he might need medical attention. I tried to think of names for the cat while we drove, but it was hard to concentrate because Dad was blasting his 80s hair metal music. We're not gonna take it. No, we ain't gonna take it. We're not gonna take it anymore. I really, really wished he wouldn't sing along. At Pet Bin, Dad filled the cart with supplies. My cat, Bandit or Hermes? No, Loki. Seemed a little more relaxed now. He was purring. Or was he growling? It was hard to tell. The last thing we picked up was a collar with a name tag. What would you like me to put on it? The cashier asked when we went to get it engraved. I was still thinking Loki, or maybe Thor, when my dad blurted out something that sounded like Klawde. Klawde? The cashier said. No, Dad said. Klawde. Klawde, like Claude, but spelled in a more exciting way. He playfully pawed at the air. Why use a C when you could use a K? K is the alphabet's party letter. Dad looked so pleased with himself that I didn't have the heart to protest. I told myself that I had my cat, and that was all that really mattered. While the cashier was engraving the tag, we took Claude over to where they were offering free vaccinations. The young-looking vet opened the carrier door and bent down to see inside. Claude's purr growl stopped. Oh, look at him. He's so... The vet paused. Interesting looking. Klawde was crouched down low and baring his fangs. Maybe we shouldn't give him a shot right now, I said. Oh, no, it's fine, the vet said. I work with animals every day, and I know how to handle them. He reached into the cage and pulled Klawde out by the scruff of the neck. See? Easy peasy, he said. Now we just take this needle and, with a blood-curdling yowl, Klawde flew at the vet's face and latched on. The vet started screaming and flailing his arms around. I was yelling, "Stop! Stop!" and my dad was desperately trying to pull Klawde off. It wasn't so easy peasy after all. Just when I thought it was safe, the humans brought out the cage. I struggled valiantly, but together the two ogres overpowered me. After locking me inside, the small ogre carried me into their armored vehicle, and we proceeded to leave the fortress. Had my enemies somehow made contact with them? Is this exile not enough for you, General Fang? Do you now intend to kill me? At the end of a seemingly endless journey, they removed my cage from the vehicle. The landscape was the most awful and desolate I had ever seen. The building they took me into was some kind of prison, and inside were more cages, filled with other cats. The legends were true. Litterbox's criminal felines had survived their exile, and their descendants were right here. I tried calling them. Fellow cats, comrades, what sort of evil place is this? But the only word I heard back from them was "round." Round? Did Earth cats have their own language? What could this word mean? Where? Turn back? Before I could make sense of it, the ogres began to wheel me around the room in a small vehicle made of metal bars. They filled this vehicle with many boxes and bags. It was hard to see out of the cage, but there appeared to be pictures of cats on the boxes. I could not understand what was happening. The next thing I knew, my cage was being lifted up. The door opened and I shrank back. I would not let them leave me in this horrible place. But then a new human reached inside the cage and grabbed me by the neck. He was lightning fast. Suddenly, I was out in the open, exposed, and being held down by its hideous five-fingered paw. Then it drew out a tiny spear and tried to stab me in the neck. I attacked. First, the claws ripped at its hands. Next, its face. Oh, how sweet the feeling. I left long red scratch marks all over its vile, furless cheeks. When I was but seconds away from murdering it, my humans pulled me off. This was followed by much incomprehensible yelling as the bleeding human chased my humans out of its territory. Chapter 9, Sunday afternoon. My dad didn't play any 80s music on the way home from Petvin. He looked sort of grim. I was sneaking glances at Klawde, safely back in his cat carrier. When dogs do something bad, they look guilty. Not Klawde. He was definitely purring now. Dad cleared his throat. What happened at Petvin? You're not going to make me give him away, are you? I said. Because I don't have any friends here. And if I don't get to keep Klawde, I'll be all alone and miserable. Raj, he said, you are going to make friends at Camp Eclipse. Don't remind me, I said. But what I was going to say is that the vet took a gamble with Klawde today, and he lost. You did warn him. So can I keep Klawde? My dad nodded. But you and he had better be careful. If that animal scratches your mother, it'll be the last thing he ever does, I said. Exactly. I peered into Klawde's cage. Did you hear that, boy? You've got to be nice. Klawde looked me right in the eyes and blinked. He almost seemed to understand what I was saying. And then he hacked up a giant hairball. All right, guys, so we're at chapter 10, and that's where we're going to end off for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next video. Bye.